Hello, this is Dr. Scott Jensen, and I just want to be very clear at the front end of this Facebook video that it gives me no pleasure whatsoever to be commenting on a vice presidential candidate, Tim Walz, history of how he and his wife chose to have a family. It gives me no pleasure whatsoever. But today I learned, as did millions and millions of people around the United States as well as around the entire planet, that the claim Tim Walz has been putting forth for months, that he and his wife were able to have 2 children because of in vitro fertilization, is not true. Numerous media sources have identified that, in fact, Tim Walz and his wife did not utilize in vitro fertilization to conceive their children. And yet we know as a nation that Tim Walz has used this exaggeration or embellishment of he and his wife being dependent on in vitro fertilization for their family. He has used that information in the argument about pro-life, pro-choice, abortion, the Supreme Court decision in Alabama, and a variety of nuances regarding this challenging issue for America, and frankly, a challenging issue for the world. But here's the bottom line. Tim Walz and his wife did not use IVF, in vitro fertilization. They evidently used artificial insemination. Let me tell you the difference between the 2 procedures. One is basically inoculating sperm within the base or the substance of semen into the vagina so that we can put it into the cervix or the uterus. And the procedure has been done for more than 200 years. And according to Planned Parenthood, which is an organization that Tim Walz has supported actively, the cost typically is less than $1,000 for artificial insemination. On the other hand, in vitro fertilization has a wide range of cost and is a relatively new procedure. In vitro fertilization had never been used successfully in the United States when I started medical school in the 1970s. Typical cycle of treatment is somewhere around $20,000 to $25,000, sometimes more. If 2 cycles are necessary to conceive a child outside the uterus and then have the fertilized embryo implanted into the uterus, if 2 cycles are used, the cost can easily get to $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. Drastically different procedures. Tim Walz is a knowledgeable individual who has served in Congress for 12 years and has been governor for 6 years. He has to know the difference between artificial insemination and in vitro fertilization. His wife certainly knows the difference. What Tim Walz did in distorting his life story and his family's life story in support of a political argument and in an effort to make political points in a very controversial issue is wrong. I would call it a falsehood. Other people might use a different term. But this is absolutely unhelpful in the polarized world of politics to say something that is absolutely something else. In vitro fertilization is a dramatically different procedure than artificial insemination. In vitro fertilization involves frequently numerous fertilized eggs still remaining in cryopreservation even after the parents have decided to not add any more children to their family. That's what in vitro fertilization does, and that has huge impact on many, many people in the way they view this issue. And Tim Walz knows this. It gives me no pleasure to talk about the origination of Tim Walz's family. But I think he owes an apology to our nation and frankly to the world for confusing and distorting a highly sensitive topic. And it is hard for me to believe that this was not purposeful, because I think Tim Walz knows the difference between artificial insemination and in vitro fertilization. His wife certainly does, because she has made it clear over the last 24 hours that she did not undergo in vitro fertilization. Shame on you, Tim Walz.